I've been playing a lot of RPGs recently, but no tactical RPGs since I finished Fire Emblem Engage all the way back at the beginning of the year. That means that at least for me, Persona 5 Tactica couldn't be coming at a better time, as I feel the itch to challenge myself with outwitting my enemies. It just helps that the game seems like a Persona 5 version of the well-received Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle games, along with art reminiscent of the Persona Q games. No Persona 5 game, main or spin-off, has disappointed me before, and I suspect that Persona 5 Tactica will only add to that win streak. Persona 5 Tactica is a strategy RPG developed by Atlus and published by Sega. This is Atlus's first foray into the strategy RPG genre since Devil's Survivor 2 back in 2011, so it's been a little while. The game is notable as the first non-mobile game release for new P Studio leader Wada, so I see this as a bit of a preview of how Wada might handle the series moving forward. The game was announced alongside Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor ReFantazio at the Xbox Game Showcase back in June, and I doubt I'm the only one to notice that the game has been overshadowed by Persona 3 Reload in particular since. I hope that the game gets more attention and love from Atlus as we get closer to release, but I guess we shall just have to wait and see. Persona 5 Tactica releases on November 17, 2023 for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. It will also be available day one for Xbox Game Pass. The game does unfortunately come with day one DLC, as we saw with the previous Atlus release of Soul Hackers 2. One of those DLCs is titled Repaint Your Heart and includes an extra story scenario along with fan favorite characters Akechi and Sumi. It seems Atlus is just going to keep doing this partitioning off of content, but make of it as you will during your purchase. I'm still gonna get the game, but I understand those disappointed by the monetization decision by Atlus. As expected, we are back in control of our Phantom Thieves of Hearts from Persona 5, transported into another world through a portal that opens up while the group is hanging out at LeBlanc. Once over in the other world, they team up with a revolution leader named Irina to take on the authoritarian, definitely not based on aristocratic-era France enemies, the Legionnaires. From what I can gather, the exact point this takes place on the timeline isn't too important, but it has to be pre-Casino Palace from Persona 5 because of the DLC. The exact timeline isn't too important, of course, but I know some may be curious. I'm not expecting too much when it comes to the story. I'm looking forward to more time with this very familiar and lovable group, but I think for the spin-off, it is the gameplay that intrigues me the most. Some previews from those I trust who have the game already, though, have indicated that there may be more depth than I've seen so far with the story, but I'm keeping my expectations in check. That being said, I would love to be pleasantly surprised by the story as I was with the strong story moments and characters in Persona 5 Strikers. The real meat and what I'm looking forward to most is the Persona take on the strategy RPG genre, and there is quite a bit so far that I've been pleased to see. While I do wish we could control more than 3 characters per battle, the smaller team means more precise tactics and puts emphasis on the right team composition for each challenge. Persona 5 Tactica appears to use the Fire Emblem model of each team moving on their own turn and not interleaved turns like seen in games such as Triangle Strategy. You also have several action points that can be used for up-close and personal melee attacks, ranged gun skills, or commands where you would use your persona and their powers to take down enemies. Much like the Persona games, striking a weakness allows for a 1 more to help take down enemies or set up your next move. The best thing to set up, though, is of course the triple threat skill, this game's take on the all-out attack that can devastate enemies. On a singular party member's basis, though, you'll have a big powerful ability to unleash once your voltage gauge is filled up. We can't have our individual party members going around without a super move now, can we? If one of your team members gets knocked out, though, during a level, you can use a limited number of baton passes to bring in party members from the reserves. This ability is limited by difficulty mode. All of this is fairly familiar to experienced strategy RPG players. It does seem to me that the developers are trying to keep some unique features from Persona to meld with the strategy gameplay, much as Strikers did with the musou formula. For a lot of these types of games, though, the abilities are just part of the equation of creating a fun gameplay experience. The enemies and the maps are equally as important, and a more recent gameplay trailer helped showcase some of the things Persona 5 Tactica has to offer. The maps have several features that alter the strategy for your next turn, from explodable items to dash squares allowing you to jump between platforms. The levels themselves seem to have plenty of objects to take cover around and elevation differences, so I'm hopeful the level design will be a strong feature. Couple that with the unique features of each element's attacks, wind blowing enemies away for instance, and I already see plenty of opportunities for fun synergies between abilities and stage elements. Then you have the unique enemies, which offer a greater challenge that I'm sure my party is ready for, after the failed attempt or two maybe. Especially since the enemies can use some of the same abilities our party has, such as the one more for a hit on an exposed party member. We'll need to be very careful when we're moving our characters around the map. One of the biggest areas of change in the Persona formula for gameplay that I've seen shown so far in Persona 5 Tactica comes in progression. Certainly you still go to the Velvet Room to fuse new personas to use for Joker, even if room in this case is a little bit of a misnomer. And these personas become stronger with use, but unlike past games you use points to upgrade abilities. You want the multi-target curse skill on Arsene? You've got to choose it from the skill tree menu. You also use personas to create new weapons for both Joker and the rest of the party, along with equipping personas as sub-personas for the other non-wildcard characters. Seems to me Lavenza is going to be very busy in this game with all these personas to balance. I'm still curious though as to how the in-between time in the game will be handled. It seems that unlike the main games and Persona 5 Strikers, Persona 5 Tactica may not have a calendar system at all, which makes sense but definitely changes up the style of the game. How big are the battles going to get? Are there opportunities for optional skirmishes to gain more experience for the characters and the player in the battle system? Several of these are strategy RPG staples, but I haven't seen any explicit confirmation about their presence in Persona 5 Tactica, so I'm curious if they are in the game or not. Then we come to the visuals. I know some people are not as enthused about this particular art style, and I do get it. I think it falls short of the Persona Q look, although I'm unsure if that's even what they were going for to begin with. It varies character to character, where Arena and Joker look great, and some others look like they had a visual downgrade in the transition from the more fleshed out animated forms in the Persona 5 main games versus the more chibi style ones here. I've already grown accustomed to it though, and the striking use of color and flashy animation is still there in spades. This game still feels like a Persona spin-off. Other areas that Persona has excelled at in recent years seem to be right at the top of the highlights of this game as well, those being the music, I will never get tired of Lynn singing, and the voice acting with the whole Phantom Thieves cast returning. The original music is likely going to be great, but like with Persona 5 Strikers, there are rearranged versions of regular Persona 5 music that I can't wait to hear as well. Atlus simply knows how to get the most out of their presentation, and Persona 5 Tactica is no exception. The UI is easily comprehensible in every trailer and footage I've seen so far. Heck, I think the use of symbols and other ways of highlighting important features means I could play this in Japanese if I really wanted to. Given the 5 different difficulty modes on offer for the game as well, it seems Persona 5 Tactica is designed to cater to all sorts of strategy players, which I'm always in support of. It already seems to me that Persona 5 Tactica is more than capable of scratching that strategy itch in my gaming lineup. This game has some real thought behind its design, and I'm really hopeful that the result will come together nicely. I would very much enjoy if Atlus gave more genre experiments a try in the future, and maybe even an original strategy RPG series at some point. For now though, I'm looking forward to diving in with a mostly familiar crew to another adventure. What are your thoughts on Persona 5 Tactica as we creep closer to release? While I know most people are concentrated more on other later Atlus releases, I have seen more and more positive buzz around Persona 5 Tactica recently, which is nice to see. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing so you know when my next videos are out for your viewing pleasure. Have a great day, and happy gaming.